revolutionizing it. Now today we're diving into a topic. It's a hot one from music, fans of music, creators of music. And man, it's just something that we have to live with now. And not only is it auto-tune, but beat correction and snapping everything to grid and all that. And man, it has changed the way music is produced. You know, there used to be a sort of natural selection process of musicians, and particularly reason why there were studio musicians in the past and studio vocalists and all kinds of different ways to fix a vocal in the past. You know, in the past, if a band had a weak singer, they would do multiple passes, meaning they would record the same part over and over again until they got it right. Now, in the days of tape, this became a precarious sort of thing because you could literally wear the tape out by recording over and erasing, recording over and erasing. So you didn't have, an infinite amount of attempts to do the vocal. Nowadays, with digital production and computers, you can do 100 different takes and do it till you get it right. And that was kind of the process back in the day. But even before that, people would blend in another voice with a weaker voice to double a vocal and make it sound stronger. And this happened a lot, in the 60s, and even like an artist, say like a dance artist like Paula Abdul, they would blend her vocal in with another vocalist and just to support the vocal and make it sound better. They also used to do trickery with, doubling vocals. If a singer has a weaker vocal, or sometimes they just like the sound of the double. It just makes the vocal sound fuller in the track. And of course, effects like reverb and delay and tape manipulation. These are things that used to be done in the past to try and improve a vocal performance. If a vocal sounded, a little bit draggy and a little flat, speeding up the tape would tend to make those flat moments go by quicker. And so there was all kinds of ways that a producer would try to get a better performance out of a singer. But, there was only so much that could be done. And if you had a bad drummer who couldn't keep time, and a bad singer, and the rest of the band wasn't any good, they could make a recording, and then the label could decide that this is just not good enough. We don't want to put this out on our label, and they would shelve the project. And this could happen even for artists that had hits in the past. If they, recorded an inferior product due to, substance abuse or just not having it anymore, oftentimes albums would get shelved. But nowadays, with modern production, and, you could say the first example of auto-tune was the song Believe by Cher. Man, the auto-tune is so strong on that. It sounds like a robot singing. But, that was the opening of Pandora's box in the music industry. And pretty soon, auto-tune would take over. Now, I know instances where, I was out on the road back in the day, and there were opening acts that opened for a band that I was playing with. And I heard their vocals in my in-ears, and I heard them sing, and I thought, man, these guys will never make it. They have terrible pitch. These guys have no hope in hell. And pretty soon, shortly after that, they were signed. And then everything that came out from them was auto-tuned, including the live performances. That's something that people don't realize, is that, and this, I believe, had been going on for a long time. Once they were able to have auto-tune in a rack-mounted unit, They were often, back in the day, they would have separate auto-tune, devices set for each song. But now with computer programming and AI and everything that's available, the technology is there to literally tune the vocal so quickly and tune it as it's coming out of the artist's mouth that there's virtually an undistinguishable, lack of latency. There's very low latency so that they're able to tune the vocal live so that every time you hear this person sing, it sounds perfect. And then, of course, with live, you've got people using tracks and singing to tracks. And, the excuse was that, oh, well, they're dancing so much and they're putting on this big show. And so not every vocal can be live. And, that's another Pandora's box. And these things just keep opening. And what you're getting now is a less and less human experience in music. Now, certain singers from the past, you could analyze and say, they tend to be a little bit flat here. They tend to go a little sharp on certain notes. Their vibrato is, a certain way. But these were the human characteristics that made these vocalists unique. And even ones that you could say, oh, they were a bad singer. And there's certainly plenty in the past that people complain. They say Dylan couldn't sing, and Hendrix wasn't real happy with his voice. He didn't think he had the greatest voice, but he had character, he had style, and he had his own vocal delivery. And really, that is the beauty of a real vocal. The fact that you are hearing the frailty and the human emotion and the both weakness and strength of a singer is really the true beauty of it. So we are losing more and more of our humanity as we slowly and very quickly, actually, as we very quickly grab onto these technologies and they become a part of society. And that goes for the same for AI. I have said before on this channel that AI is going to eliminate songwriters and studio musicians and all of these things. Why? Because it's just too easy, not to use when you can bypass the entire recording process of hiring musicians and picking the songs and doing all this and literally type a prompt into the computer and boom, it spits out a song with a complete arrangement, in minutes. And then it'll separate the stems so that you can have some AI device mix the product and make it, radio friendly, if you will. It's just come to a point where music is no longer real. So I'm going to make the case today that auto-tune is not a good thing. And it's helped a lot of people fool audiences and pull one over on the listening public. And now it's at the point where, that auto-tune is so embedded in people's ears and brains that people that can actually sing and actually have good voices are imitating the sound of auto-tune. Singers are also hearing, young people growing up and only hearing auto-tune. They don't like the sound of a non-auto-tuned voice. It becomes very unappealing to them. And, if that's all you listen to would be auto-tuned and snap to grid and everything perfect and homogenized. And, it's like drinking, homogenized milk or drinking raw milk. One could argue that the raw milk might have health benefits. I'm not an expert on milk, but, raw food, organic food is a lot better for your body. And I believe that raw music and organic music is also better for your body. And, it's come a time now where, there's going to be bands that, come out and say, we don't use auto-tune, we don't snap to grid, we play real music, we don't use modelers, we don't use any of these things. And some of these bands are going to become very popular, both for their inconsistency and their frailty, because the beauty of life and live music is in the real interaction. Hearing a singer on a good night, hearing a singer on a bad night, you still heard the singer. You're not hearing a computer program pull every note, either, sharp or flat into perfect pitch. It's not reality. And, I talked earlier on this channel going to see a country concert. And, it was a legacy country act, but a big name legacy country act. And man, I had to ask myself throughout the night, am I hearing what I'm hearing is real? There were times where they were hitting notes that I knew this person wouldn't, and had a long reputation of using auto-tune in the studio and having pitch issues. So I knew what I was hearing was a computer. And the lines were blurred so much in the live performance that at times I'm not even sure what I was seeing was real. I mean, they had these TikTok style screens behind, and it was projecting his image onto the screens, and it was blurring the lines between reality and a false reality. And let me tell you something, auto-tune, there is a place for it, but its overuse and reliance by singers is just, it's too much at this point in time. I think for me, as an old guy that records and does stuff, plays on people's tracks, I don't use Snap to Grid. I do old school. I treat my computer like a 4-track, and what I put down is what I put down. And so I don't make a habit of using the technology. I don't fix anything. I make sure I play it right. If it takes me 100 takes, I think that's fine as long as it's real. Now, I don't mind punching in. That's something we used to do back in the day. If there was a note that was off, the singer would sing along with the tape and the engineer would punch you in on that note. There's nothing wrong with that. It's an actual real performance, and fixing a mistake. Maybe you've got a perfect guitar solo except for one note, and the end note is just a little flat. Okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with punching. I don't think there's anything wrong with some editing. A slight bit of vocal sweetening, is one thing. But tuning every single note, taking a person who has no singing ability and fixing their vocal to where they have this amazing vocal and fooling the audience, well, I think that is an absolute abomination.